Hey guys, Dark Humility here. You can always catch us at twitch.tv/Dark Humility for 7 days a week of Diablo 2 action. Ooh, just got a new 99 just popping up there. But anyway, we play D2R, PD2, and vanilla LOD. We have all of that content on our YouTube. We make lots of guides like this one that we're going to be making for PD2 here. And we make lots of guides as well for D2R. You can also catch a lot of those D2R guides on d2.maxroll.gg. Today, guys, we have a special guide for you guys. This is the Season 4 Hardcore Claws of Thundersin. But of course, I'll be giving you the softcore rundown as well to help you guys understand how to min-max this build. This build is a ton of fun. She does tons of damage. And she has very high mobility. And when you can get enough facets on her, enough lightning facets, and just enough plus skills, she really brings the pain train. Today, we actually just recently got her to level 99, which is the first 99 hardcore character I've made on PD2. So in some ways, she's pretty maxed out. Gear-wise, not 100% maxed out. Definitely some upgrades you can always get, depending on what you're looking for. But this is how I wanted to play it. She's got a nice balance of all kinds of stats. And today, of course, we'll start by going over the stats. And then we'll go over the skills. And then the mercenary. And then mercenary's gear. And then my gear. And then we'll be doing some demos. We'll do LOD demo. And then we'll do mapping demos so you guys can see how powerful this build truly is. Also try to give you guys multiple options for this build so you guys can understand how to most effectively play this boss character. Alright, so without further ado, let's check out her stats. So we got level 99 assassin here with 156 strength. The strength bug, remember, does still exist in Project Diablo 2. So we only need 156 strength with Storm Shield on us. So as long as we have like a ring or something to give us strength, we can wear that. No problem. You only want enough strength to wear your gear on this build. The majority of your damage is AoE lightning damage, not physical damage. However, physical damage can help in a lot of ways, and it does add to your damage, which is something we'll explain. Claws of Thunder is a melee sin, and it's a ton of fun. Anyway, dexterity. Maximum block. That's what we want to go for if possible, if we have a shield. I did this because of hardcore. On softcore, and if you're not going to 99, you can get away with claw block. Claw block, though, most of the time will only be able to hit like 45-46% block, though. So your block's going to be significantly lower, and you're going to take a lot more damage. So that is something to consider when playing this build. Do you want to go 2 claws, or do you want to go claw and a shield? Since we were doing Players 8 maps, some really nasty ones even, just to get to 99 on this character, better bet I tried to min-max my damage reduction, and I took advantage of the stats provided by Storm Shield. So we want maximum block, or at least you want some block. We want either claw block or maximum block with a shield. It's going to definitely be the best way to play that. And then you put the rest of your points into Vitality. You don't need any points into Energy. Any source at all of mana leech anywhere on your build will be sufficient to sustain your mana, unless, of course, you're attacking undead enemies. Res, in general, you know, since you're a melee sin, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. I do recommend trying to get near max res or max res at a minimum. On the hardcore version of this build, you can see that my res is stacked. This is for conviction. There's some scenarios that definitely could have killed me without stacked res. Made sure I had like approximately over 50 stacked fire res, 50 stacked light res. When the maps roll burning souls and the maps have fire towers and things and have conviction, that can end you. So having that stacked res definitely is a great way to stay alive if possible. Of course, the cold res was really easy to get on this build. I didn't even have to do anything special. But it was kind of based on my items and my corruptions and whatnot, so it just depends. But cold res is definitely looking very good. Alright. And next up, we got Damage reduction. This damage reduction to 53%. 50% is maximum, but the extra 3% does help if you're amped. So a lot of survivability. The Defiance Aura and the Mercenary is giving us some of that damage reduction as well. So really good stuff just in general. And then even some flat MDR. So just a lot of damage reduction stats. You go right in, man. You go right in the monsters. You gotta be able to take some damage, especially on hardcore if you don't want to die. That's how you do it. Hit recovery. So I do recommend at least hitting the 48 hit recovery frame. With different gear, hitting the 86 is pretty easy. 48 or 86 for sure. Anything lower as a melee build, you're definitely asking for trouble, especially when you don't have max block. And FCR, not super important unless you're using like Enigma teleport. But yeah, I mean, we're using Dragonflight. It's pretty instantaneous, but yeah, you can always get, there's, casting of shadows and things, whatever, but it's pretty weak stuff. Doesn't really matter. Alright, and then we made sure we had one source of Mana Leech at least, which isn't much, but as long as you have some Mana Leech somewhere, you're fine. And then Life Leech is very important. It helps sustaining on this build quite a bit. Stronger, of course, the higher your physical damage on your main weapon that you're attacking with, though, the more you're going to be able to leech no matter what your Life Leech is. But the more Life Leech you have as well, that stat will also be very important in addition to the physical damage on your weapon. Magic Find, almost 200 base Magic Find. But that's without like Geeds or anything, so you can make this build could have so much more Magic Find. Definitely prioritize surviving to 99, but I did make sure that my build also had a decent amount of Magic Find, so it can do both. But yeah, the sky's the limit really. It just depends on what you're wearing. One thing to note though is that attack rating can be instrumental on this build, especially if you don't have Conviction and you're lowering those enemy defenses with that aura. So make sure you at least have some attack rating. Most of the attack rating is just coming from our skills or skill allocation itself. But yes, it is an AR based build. You do have to actually hit the monster in order to run up those charges and to destroy stuff with Claws of Thunder. So we have a pretty decent amount of defense as well. Defense definitely prevents you from getting hit, so that's also very good to have. Like 10,000 solo here. When I was mapping, I had like, I don't know, I could have up to like 18,000 life. I could have up to like 3.7 if I have like Barbo. But yeah. Anyway, those are pretty much the basics of the build. Another thing to mention is attack speed, but we'll kind of get into that into the skills. The attack speed is provided to you virtually exclusively by your Bartux. If you have Bartux and one source of attack speed, 20 attack speed on your gear, you actually don't need much burst of speed. We actually like overstacked it though for faster run walk, and also to provide an extra frame in case we're decrept or whatnot. But it kind of just depends on how you want to play it. Decrepify definitely can become a problem. More attack speed the better, of course. You can have more attack speed, and you can further guard yourself against fully freeze and decrepify. But yeah, alright, anyway. GG on the basic stat information. Here are the skills. So the skills, we've got our most important thing. This is our source of mobility. If you have Enigma, you don't need this super bad, but it does expend your charges, so you do damage with this ability. This is why I don't really feel like this build needs Enigma, but Enigma can definitely, increase your mobility further and can help traverse like empty areas that have no monsters. This ability does require a monster. It is a teleport, and it has a very short cooldown now. If you remember using this in previous seasons, it was a lot clunkier. They made this ability really smooth and really powerful in the last 2 seasons, so it's definitely worth getting this 1 point 100% no matter what. And then max out Claws of Thunder and Phoenix Strike. You're going to want to do those things no matter what. You're also going to want to have one into Blade Shield. Using your weapons damage can help you increase your leech. It's just free life leech you can get just by being near monsters, which you are all the time. Helps to sustain you. You don't get much damage from the skill itself. It's mostly just the weapons, so you only need to put 1 point into it, no matter what. once again. One thing I also recommend, though, you definitely max out. As long as you have a weapon that has some decent damage, or just doesn't matter, just getting some attack rating and damage. Claw and dagger mastery, you are going to want to use claws or daggers on this build, or a dagger, I should say, in particular. There's one dagger I'm thinking of. So you're definitely going to want to use claw and dagger mastery if you want to max that out. For some extra CC, you can go Mind Blast. This can help in like dungeons or some group scenarios. You don't actually need it necessarily, though. Cloak of Shadows, very, very useful against tons of very powerful ranged enemies. You can take out their ability to range you, and then you can jump in and melee them and kill them. So yeah, that's a nice safety tool, and you can spam it. You can spam it every 5 seconds, so it's very useful stuff. And then I also put one into Venom. I mean, it gives you some extra poison damage. Some alternative approaches on this build, if you don't want to put more points in a Burst of Speed, or if you don't want to put any points in a Shadow Master, you can go really hard on Venom and Cobra Strike. You can even pre-buff it with like poison damage gear, and you can have even more poison damage, so you can hybridize your damage. You can definitely do that. I did not choose to do that, but you could definitely do that. Also, it's a little more challenging to get your survivability up when you don't have like a maxed out Shadow Master, so it's more of a hardcore consideration as well. Shadow Master, though, maxing this out, this definitely survives way better than Shadow Warrior. I've tested both of them at max. So if you want your Shadow to survive and you don't have to constantly recreate your Shadow, this one will only dies very rarely, so that's good stuff. Has a ton of resist all. It's that 82 resist all. It really makes it very tanky. So putting that Shadow, very good stuff indeed. Won't mimic your abilities, but it'll even do some other abilities. So we'll do some damage, but it's mostly a tank. It doesn't really do that much damage. And I just dumped, like I said, I dumped the rest of the points in Burst of Speed because I like really high, faster unlock. And having bonus attack speed, even in addition to having a fast weapon and attack speed on your gear, will give you an extra frame or two against like decrepify, so you're not attacking super slow when you're decrepified. Another thing you can do though is you can put a lot more attack speed on your gear, and you can even just go fade if you want the physical damage and the magic damage, or no, sorry, not the magic damage, the physical damage reduction and the curse duration reduction and the resist all from the fade itself. And you can go fade instead of burst of speed. The only thing about that though is that you're gonna have to oscillate between the two just to run faster. Running faster feels so much better on this build, so if you can avoid it, I think it's just better to go burst of speed. And this, once again, if you have 2 claws, this is another place where you can put your points. You can put lots more points into weapon block, and that's going to be really good stuff. Trying to get that weapon block at least like 45% if you're going to go the dual claw approach. Alright, next up, Mercenary. So the Mercenary is a Defiance Act 2 Mercenary. Honestly, because you want Infinity on this build, or Stormspire, those are pretty much the best choices for a build where the Mercenary follows you when you Dragonflight in, so that the Mercenary doesn't die. If it's an Act 3 Mercenary, you go in like that, you're probably just going to kill it. There's definitely options, because I mean, like Act 3 Mercenaries use Static Field that can increase your damage under some circumstances, but like I said, it's probably just going to die. You don't really need much physical damage, so going Act 5 isn't really going to be the approach either. In Act 1, you definitely could go like an Act 1 with like Vigor Aura and Pus Spitter for lower resist, but once again, that approach is likely to die. Your most reliable approach, no matter what, is going to be an Act 2 Mercenary. Now there's 2. Defiance, of course, for that extra damage reduction. If you're really hurting on attack rating, you can go Blessed Aim as well. But for your Mercenary here, you're definitely going to want to go either Infinity or Stormspire. So Stormspire, if you guys don't know, in Season 4, Stormspire's static field is literally just as powerful as the Conviction Aura on Infinity. If it procs, which it has a very high chance to proc that really high level static field, that static field gives you the same negative enemy res value that you would get from the Conviction Aura on Infinity, which is negative 34. So you can use Stormspire on this build 100%. Because I was group mapping though, honestly I should have probably bought a Stormspire for group mapping in case we had another source of conviction. That's something that I should have done. I didn't, but it kind of depends. So like sometimes you do need conviction. I've been in groups where nobody had conviction and I had to have conviction, and since I was frontlining, it allowed more damage to come into the front line. It does just depend. Oh man, that's a really painful brick, man. You bricked it, man. No. Sorry to hear that, man. Well, Tal's armors luckily aren't that important at the moment, but yeah, could be worse. But anyway, so Stormspire is very valid on this build. Lots of negative enemy res from the static field itself. Of course, you can also get the static field on your weapons, and then you can have conviction on the mercenaries. So your two main weapons on this build for sure that you're definitely working towards are Infinity and Stormspire once again. And if you have Stormspire, get really high attack speed on it so that you can proc the static field faster and it's more reliable. One advantage though for solo gameplay, and once again if no one else has conviction though to Infinity, is the range on the conviction aura is higher. That can increase your damage in some scenarios, but overall Stormspire has some awesome range. Alright, anyway, enough about the weapon. Weapon's pretty solid stuff. Rest of the gear, this is as much attack speed as you need to hit breakpoints, really. The more attack speed, the better. Go for stats like physical damage reduction, curse duration reduction if you have Crown of Ages. Cannot be frozen is very good, so the Mercenary doesn't get frozen. It can constantly leech. Definitely recommend having that stat somewhere. Make sure your Merc has res and even stacked res. Stacked res helps a lot of life leech. Attack speed, hit recovery. That's pretty much all this is. I didn't really prioritize damage on him too much. If I got a better Crown of Ages earlier, I actually just found my first Crown of Ages yesterday. I didn't bother buying one, but curse duration reduction is really good with the FHR and with the res and the damage reduction. So Crown of Ages would have been really nice. Another thing that would be really nice here, besides like String of Yours Dungus, if you want more PDR versus attack speed, Nas Coil. There's a lot of things that can work here, really. It just depends. But one thing that you could do is Templar's Might. If you use Templar's Might plus Infinity or Stormspire, you can get Might Aura on top of Conviction Aura. And that Might Aura doesn't really help your damage a ton. It's a very low level Might Aura anyway. And you don't do all that much physical damage. But the physical damage you do might help you increase your leech slightly. However, there are disadvantages to that. Like, it might be harder to get res on your Mercenary if you use Templars, depending on how good it is. It definitely makes your Merc do a lot less damage, so your Merc might have lower survivability with Templars. It definitely will in almost every scenario. So there's definitely advantages and disadvantages to that approach. You can kind of help your own leech a little bit and maybe slightly increase your physical damage, or you can help your Mercenary. I decided to make my Mercenary a bit more powerful, so I went with this approach. Also, I didn't really solo farm a Templar, so I didn't really even test it out. But I've tested it all out in beta, so I do know that there's definitely a validity to that approach. Alright, anyway. That's it for all that gear, and let's go into our main gear, and then it's time for some demos. So, main gear. So, with the main gear, basically, on almost all melee elemental sins, you're looking for Bartux for the most part. Bartux, Plague, all very good options. Anything to give you that elemental damage. Plague in the case of like a Cobra Strike Sin, of course, definitely a real option. But Bartux is amazing, especially if you can get like a free socket one, because you can stuff it full of your elemental facets. One advantage of this build versus, like, let's say a Phoenix Strike build is that you can literally just stack one element of facets so that you're constantly just doing the highest amount of damage possible. And because of that, Claws of Thunder, even though the AoE might be slightly smaller than Phoenix Strike, does way more damage. This build's pretty nasty. I mean, once I start showing you guys her damage, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. And like I said, her damage isn't even maxed out. because we do have to make room for survivability items, such as Storm Shield. So, but yeah, you can go Storm Spike as well. So Storm Spike is a dagger. It's gonna mean like lower attack speed frames, but it also has really high negative res, and you can get it even higher with more facets. It also has percent lightning damage, but this just has 4 skills, and it has hit recovery, and it has attack rating. So in a lot of ways, I think I'd rather use Bartox almost every time on this particular build. If you put like Plague in a GT and get like 5 Claws of Thunder or like a 6 Claw of Thunder Blue Claw, I mean, you could definitely do that stuff for sure. But Bartox just has so many solid stats. It has so many solid like survivability stats as well. On hardcore, I'd almost certainly recommend this virtually every time. Does this translate to Pluggy? I mean, Pluggy on PD2? Sure, this is Project Diablo 2. This build doesn't really work on D2R or LOD, so this is a PD2 guide we're making here. If you just came in, Rob D. Perry. How you doing, man? Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty beastly stuff. One thing to note, though, is that for budget on weapons, I would use Crescent Moon. So Crescent Moon you can make in a claw now, if you didn't know, and it gives you negative 15 enemy light res with no facets. It's really easy to make. I think it's like Shale Tyr. I think that's the recipe for Crescent Moon. And it gives you static field on striking. Now, it's not as reliable of static field as, you know, Storm Spire or Storm Spike or anything. But you could even like wear it as your main weapon if you don't want Leech, and then you can have this as your like off weapon, and then you can proc static field and have Conviction on top of this. So, or you could just have 2 of these and just have a ton of negative enemy light res. There's a lot of options. Of course, you can only go 1 dagger, so if you go Storm Spike, there's only 1 Storm Spike. So, but yeah, Bartox are always going to be nice too. That's pretty much all the main options you'd have for this build. I think I pretty much went over everything there. Might be some other options as well. Your options for helms are pretty much 2. There's pretty much 2 main options unless you want to go super high survivability. If you're looking for like super high survivability, you can go Crown of Ages. 3 sockets, 3 lightning facets maybe. Maybe it cannot be frozen corruption. It can be pretty ridiculous, and then you can have like curse duration reduction. You can have the DR on your helm, and then you can maybe add even a skill down here in like T-Gods. You can definitely go Crown of Ages 100%. But I'd say for the main options, you're probably looking for Griffins. Griffins is just pretty huge, just so much negative enemy light res. And if you get a 2-socketed one like I did, with really high starting negative res, or you get a 3-socketed one, or even one with a bonus skill, it could be even stronger. So, really crazy stuff you can definitely get potentially, but in general though, you're definitely going to want really high negative enemy light res. Griffins will get you the highest possible, so it's going to be really good for damage. The other good option would probably be Curas. Curas could also do this too, but it won't give you percent lightning damage. And that percent damage matters quite a bit on this build because you get to some pretty high damage values. So Curas will also give you more survivability, and like a combination of survivability and negative enemy light res, and it gives you your cannot be frozen normal res. So those are pretty much probably the main options on this build. Alright, so this is where there's actually quite a few options, but you could go 3 to 4 martial arts skill blue amulets. You can go like bloodcraft, safety craft, martial arts skill amulets. I went with something pretty simple. It works. It's got a nice corruption too, so I self-corrupted this. Also self-corrupted this one too, and I self-boxed that one. But this is a self-corruption. 10% increased chance of blocking. So that 10% increased chance of blocking is no joke. That is a ton of extra vitality to get. Plus the 5 all attributes, plus the all res. The all res, stacking my res, that's what I did. Very good defensive option, always having that Mars on hand, especially if you roll something like that. Of course, you can get 3 skills on the Mars. You can have, like I said, 4 martial arts skill amulets. There's a lot of things you can do. You can have more plus skills here. Definitely quite a few options. You can have High Lords for more attack speed. So you can definitely rock that High Lords. It also gives you some deadly strike to help out your physical damage. Which, one thing I actually forgot to mention on this is that if you have an ethereal Bartux, not a non-ethereal one, but if you have a ethereal one, you will help out your leech a lot because you'll be boost your physical damage by up to like 50%. So it'll be like 50% more physical damage. And yeah, even no matter how much life leech you have on the rest of your build, if you have any decent amount, it's gonna boost it quite a bit. And then of course you'll also do more physical damage. This build does do some physical damage. It definitely does. You can kill lightning immunes just by swinging the claw. That being said, it's not the majority of the damage. Not even close. So you can go ethereal 3-socket, you can go ethereal Bartux, and you can get something really crazy like an ethereal 2-skill 3-socket one. But then you're going to sacrifice some negative enemy light res in exchange for some physical damage, which can help with immunities and once again helps with life leech. So if you want like bonus attack speed, you want that deadly strike as well. That will also help with leech, so you can definitely go High Lords. That's a totally valid option on this build. And then, like I said here, I don't know on the shield. I kind of feel like there's a couple options. You can go like Spirit Ward. Spirit Ward would be really nice for survivability. The only problem is that Lesser Fade will mess with your burst of speed, so I don't know how much I'd like that one. This is why I went Storm Shield. Storm Shield's going to be your ultimate survivability shield. You get max block with it, which is way more block than you can get with Claw Block now after all those Claw Block nerfs. And it's just way more reliable. The block rate's really good on this. I got a nice corruption on it. I only boxed it for 1, but you can definitely get a better Storm Shield than this. It's a good Storm Shield, though. But yeah. And like I said, you can wear a second weapon. So you can go like Crescent Moon Bartux. You can go double Bartux. You can go ethereal Bartux and then a non-ethereal Bartux. And then you use the ethereal Bartux to attack. And then you use the non-ethereal one, which has more facets in it to not attack. So make sure to keep in mind hardcore and softcore and how much survivability you need. And heck, you can go Plague on your offhand. You can go Plague Runic Talons or Plague Greater Talons. And you can have Cleansing Aura, which will take curses off of you. And then you don't need Crown of Ages. So there's a lot of different things you can do for sure. It's a very cool, very many options on this. All right, armor. All right, so for armor, damn, you just been breaking everything, huh, Lamy? For armor, there's a ton of options. There's so many options for this build for an armor. I can try to go through them though. So you could go Chains of Honor. It's a ton of res, 2 skills, even some damage reduction, and a little bit of MF. You can go Enigma. Enigma has faster run walk and 2 skills and a lot more MF and more strength, which will save you a lot of life points for getting like max block on something like Storm Shield. And you can strength bug it along with the 20 strength provided by Bartux or something like that. Or you can strength bug both of these. Yeah, make sure to upgrade your Bartux to Runic Talons, by the way. So use the Perfect Emerald Pull Lum recipe so that you're doing that maximum damage for sure. Anyway, yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do though. Yeah, for the armor, there's a lot of things you get. There's a lot of 2+ skill armors. I'd say plus skills are definitely the most effective way to gain damage after like enemy negative light res on this build. So you definitely want to do that. You can go Arcane's Valor. Arcane's Valor can get up to 3 skills on this build. You can get +2 and a +3 Arcane's Valor. You can get an F1 and have almost as much defense as this one is. Of course, what I'm doing here is a nice, really nice balanced combination of stats. So it's really high MF. Res that I put from Umrins and Puzzle Boxing and Scolders, 2 sockets. 1 skill, so it's not 2 skills. And then MDR, so 12 magic damage reduction. Could have up to 15 and almost 2,000 defense. So this served me very well. It did a very combination of solo mapping and, of course, pushing to 99. We pushed with this just fine. You can also go Ormus, so that's another option. Okay, if you want really high MF, this is definitely going to be a nice option. And if you want decent defense in F1, I only use this because it was F, honestly, probably. I mean, I love the defense. Defense was nice. But you can definitely go Ormus Robes. So Ormus Robes are also going to be solid here. You get 15% light skill damage on it. And if you get 3 sockets, you can put more facets in it as well on top of that. I don't know if it's more effective than like a 3-socket Arcanes. Probably not, but you could definitely go Ormus. Ormus is definitely possible. And I don't know. I guess one of the cheaper options. So let's go through some of the cheaper options. So Crescent Moon was like one of the cheaper weapon options we talked about. Cures would definitely be the cheaper helm option. This, oops, yeah, the game crashed out. The cheapest armor option is most likely to be, what's up, Pitster? How you doing? We got to 99 today. We're doing a guide at the moment. The cheapest armor option is probably a stone. So a stone is amazing. It gives you even more defense. It still gives you a skill, and it gives you FHR and some res. Not as much res as this is currently giving. It doesn't give MDR either. It also doesn't give 150 MF. Doesn't give any at all. But, yeah, I mean, if you're going for items, though, it could matter. But stone is a very nice budget option, 100% for this build. In some ways, it even exceeds what I'm currently wearing, so that's kind of neat. I think I pretty much went over all the main armor options on this, so I think we'll leave that alone. There's definitely some other things you can do, but yeah. Pole arms, so basic bow skill, always going to be good. Getting that battle orders and battle command. You might notice this requires too much strength. You could always get like a 3-socket Lilith, put enough foul runes in here, and then put enough strength in to wear this if you want to, but kind of depends on what you're wearing. I don't think it's worth the strength points though to get that 1 skill for bow, and you only get like 15 life off of it anyway. But yeah, anyway. 6 battle orders, good stuff, extra life, extra mana, and the 2 extra skills that also help out bow. All skills help out bow, which is another reason Mars is a good choice on this build. Good stuff. And gloves. Let's go for gloves. So gloves, honestly, the only gloves you're pretty much ever going to want to wear on this build. If you're using Enigma Teleport, you might want to go Lightning Mage Fist, but for the most part, what I would just use 220 gloves, 220 rare gloves with really nice stats, or 320 gloves, which is what these are. And an awesome corruption, more MF, what do you know? And of course, you could have more defensive or offensive corruptions on that as well. I would just basically go some kind of 320 gloves. For Dung, 320, 220 gloves every time, just more damage. Get that extra attack speed as well, helps out. You don't need that many points in a burst of speed if you get that as well. But yeah, remember to check your attack speed breakpoints depending on what kind of gear you have, no matter what. For Dungos, this is definitely a hardcore thing for the most part, but this is what got me to that 50% damage reduction cap and lots of extra health. Got me that FHR that I needed, a lot easier to hit that 48 FHR breakpoint with my current setup, and gave me MF because I corrected for more MF. There's a lot of options though. If you want damage, Arachnid's Mesh will give you that bonus skill, give you FCR as well if you're using Enigma Teleport. T-Gods will give you actually a lot of survivability against lightning damage and more survivability in general, so it gives you some survivability, not as much as for Dungos, but it does. And it gives you 1 to lightning skills, so it will give you a bonus skill as well. You could also use String of Ears for more life leech and also for some flat MDR. Those are pretty much all the options I would personally use on this build. I really don't think there's many other things you should do on this build, so that's pretty much it. Raven Loop. Raven Loop, sweet. Sweet ring. So there's a lot of things you can do here. Depending on if you have Mana Leech somewhere, I definitely recommend you have Mana Leech somewhere though. This does cost mana. My mana starts going down pretty heavily when I don't have when I'm not attacking like a monster I can leech off of, like an undead monster. So you attack very fast. That 4 mana might not seem like a lot, but you'll drain it pretty fast. So somewhere on the build, once again, you should have Mana Leech in. In this case, it's right here. And yeah, just a ton of life leech. Honestly, since I didn't go the Ethereal Claw route, Having all that bonus life leech, very, very helpful in this build. Also, of course, tons of all res, and it's my source of cannot be frozen. The best places to have cannot be frozen on any build, unless it's built into the item for a corruption, is always a ring or a boot. So that's the ring. There you go. And just really nice stats. Just a nice stat ring with dual leech. You can also get leech, of course, on a Stone of Jordan. You can get leech on. You get dual leech on a BK ring. To get another skill, of course, we're using a BK ring right here with an attack rating corruption that also gives us even more life leech. Life leech does matter a little bit, so getting a 5% life leech BK ring is going to be nice. BK rings in general do tend to be really good for those melee assassin builds. For that life leech, that skill gives you that damage and life in general. So normally you're going to want BK rings or some kind of like heavy leech rings or just extra stat rings. That's usually going to be what you're going to want those. And then for boots, there's a lot of options. You can go War Travelers for MF, basic stats. Because I want to stack my res really high, though, I'm using these really cool rare boots. Faster run walk, dex, quad res with very high cold lighting and fire res on it, which is that's getting us our stacked res right there. You're probably going to want some kind of rare boots or War Travelers on this build. War Travelers will also give you some extra physical damage. I don't really see you wanting any other kinds of boots on this. Of course, budget options like Alder's boots will work just fine. So it just kind of depends on what you're going for, but these boots are definitely very solid. And to close out this build's gear, I know the gear definitely takes a bit, but Martial GCs is high of life you can get. This is getting us to that 48 FHR breakpoint. So depending on your gear, you might want one of these. You might want faster run walk on these as well. All going to be very good stats in your charms. But in general, Martial GCs are the way to go. Those plus skills are going to be very nice for Claws of Thunder. Assassin Torch, as good as you possibly can get it. Annie, as good as you possibly can get it. And Life, Res, Charms. Once again, you can go like MF Res Charms if you don't need as much life. You can definitely stack way more MF throughout the entirety of the build. You can have even more MF corruptions. You can have War Travelers. There's so many things you can do. But yeah, no matter what, it's going to be good stuff though. Res, life, good. And then of course this is just a 20 life aura granting charm. For it's our fake brawly aura. Top 4, not top 3. Aha. Ever knows, ever knows. Alright, anyway. So yeah, you can actually trade these two. It's top 3 in PD2, getting like top 3 Rathma, top 3 D-Clone. And top 399 in your class, you can get a cool aura. The auras are different colors and stuff. Alright, anyway, you don't need that. You just need life, res, MF, res, basic stuff. You don't really need to worry about mana too much because you're just leeching it and you'll always have enough mana, so you don't have to worry about that style in this build at all. Alright, and that's about it for all of the main sections of that. Went over pretty much in detail how to make this build tick. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run a Chaos and a World Stone. Players 1. And also maps, just to show you guys how insane this build can be. So you notice that all you really need to do is use Dragonflight. After you've casted your Shadow, your Blade Shield, your Burst of Speed, and your Venom. If you have your 1-point Venom, you don't even need it, but you know, it helps. After you've done all that, it's just Dragonflight and Claws of Thunder. And this build wrecks. As you can see, it's not a joke. As you can see, if I expend my last charge, the Dragonflight, the finisher will expend all the charges no matter what. And notice the damage here is no joke. You can do up to like 20k, 14k, well, 13k without. This is level 47 Claws of Thunder right here. We did have level 45 a second ago, but you can get it much higher. Like I said, there's a lot more damage that can be had with this build. I do say that in almost all my build guides because I usually don't go for like perfect gear. I go for gear that works, but I also am playing hardcore and there's a lot of other considerations. And even if you wanted to trade for perfect gear on hardcore, it's very challenging oftentimes. Smaller player base and people dying, gear getting destroyed because people died. It's difficult. Playing the softcore, you could definitely get all that stuff, no problem. You know, I had that in mind, but I wasn't sure when they were gonna drop it. Jay Hendricks, I don't think we're playing PDR tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think we're gonna be starting to play it when they release the 2.4 patch. I don't know if there's really much of a reason to play it yet until they release the content patch, the gameplay change patch. And they're not doing that yet, so we'll see. I did try to make sure that, you know, we got the main goals that I wanted done this season. That's the main goal. And possibly any other goals that we could achieve, and then of course we help out the rest of the hardcore community along the way. Alright, but as you can see, this character just smoothly destroys chaos. No problem. Because we're not using the Enigma approach. Could have even more mobility. And more MF. Except the Enigma wouldn't help with the MF though. Scolders is king on MF for sure. Imagine if I wasn't stacking my res, I could put 2 ists in here too. That's with 3 ists if you get a 3-socketed Scolders. There's crazier stuff you can get. But I will say, that was pretty easy stuff there. No problem. Diablo just got smoked. Alright. Now one thing to note is, remember, we have Cloak of Shadows. If you want to farm Worldstone, or you want to run Baal, PD2, which not a lot of people do, most people just do. Mapping and whatnot, which is what I did to get to 99, but yeah. Notice though, you can just pop Cloak of Shadows and then most of them can't attack you. Took a lot of damage there, but if I had a T-Gods on it, it wouldn't be that bad. Alright. Okay. Nice. Alrighty. Yeah. Alright. So yeah, as you can see, she does a lot of AoE. A lot of people might not think that Claws of Thunder has a lot of AoE. It does. When I start mapping, it becomes even more apparent. Now these are lightning immune monsters. Now notice, I can still kill them pretty fast. Just with my physical damage. And if I had an F-Claw, I could kill them even faster. So she does a decent amount of physical damage. But you can see though, those physical immunes dropped in one shot, not because of the physical damage. Definitely not. It's all the lightning damage, man. She is a strong lady. Strong lady. Hiya! It's Bill Wiegeth. Bro, what the hell? Wow, shit talking in the chat. I know. Look at this. Bam. Yeah, see, that's why Dragonflight's so cool, because it can expend your charges, and then you can do damage when you jump into the next pack. So it's good stuff. Even though Enigma is an option, you definitely don't need to do it. I actually don't think Enigma is probably the best. Like I said, I think maybe Arcane's Valor, like 3 skills, 2 sockets might be the best. It's hard to say. Maybe 3 sockets. Alright. So yeah, every time I land a hit of some kind, we proc a charge. You can just watch the damage go there. She will decimate Baal waves. Honestly, a lot of this gear is overkill for LOD content, so if you think you need this much gear to do this, not really, no. That being said, though, it does help to have plain martial GCs at the very least. As many plus skills as you can get, and as much negative enemy res as you can get. Yeah, we can flatten virtually everything. Virtually everything. So. Yeah, so she just flattens stuff. It's pretty easy stuff. And like I said, like there's so much more damage potential. When I went over the gear, and I talked about it. You can get a lot more damage. But Baal's also getting trained down very easily. Now, some people might ask, can this build do Ubers very well? Wouldn't be my choice for Ubers or Declone or anything like that. There's so many better options like Traps and Blade Fury Sense and things of that nature for that. Wow. And won't you look at that? Unique rate. You can't get experience anymore once you hit 99, I'm in. Your experience stops. Couldn't even tell you, man. If level 100 was a thing, wouldn't even know. Alright, and Stone Jordan. Oh, come on. I am Ordini for the camera. Could have done so much better. You know, before I hit 99 today, we found a death slab. I personally corrupted a 10 FCR Dunga as I solo mapped right before. And they found a Vextron, so it was a very lucky day. Very lucky day to be at 99 today. Man, 99 was a grind, but we killed it, man.
Can I help you?
Killed it. Power of the hardcore community and myself, and making some godly maps. Even a couple dungeons just for fun, even though I don't really recommend dungeons on this character either. So melee characters and dungeons, until they get rid of those, or if they get rid of those one-shot, one-punch man monsters, you're probably not going to want to actually do dungeons or anything on this character. Which, you know, might be a deal breaker. Some people are looking to get to 99, might want to do it super fast, and they might want to have a bit more safety. Yeah, it's up to you. But, I gotta say, she's a boss when it comes to solo no matter what. So anyway, what we're going to do here is we're going to now do some demos in the maps. So we're going to do some solo map demos. Root map demos, I mean, it's kind of hard to see like who's doing the damage, but it's kind of pointless. I'm not going to do any group map demos, but I can say one thing though. This character still does a lot of damage in P8, especially if you get that negative enemy res high. And if you get that damage even higher, you can do even more damage. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. You jump out to the front line too, and you can provide that conviction or that static field to the front line. So many good options for group mapping. But we're going to do some solo map demos here though, no problem. This is one of the more dangerous tier 1s, if not the most dangerous tier 1 in Season 4, because they made all of the Doom Knights Oblivion, so it's pretty dangerous stuff. But we got Cloak of Shadows, so we don't really care. And as you can see here, we just jump around and kill stuff. Oh, let's see. One socket G-Face Rip. At this point in the season, well, I don't need that. So you might notice that those are lightning immunes. I break them with Infinity, and look how fast they go down. Bam. This map is excellent for this character because I can take advantage of my Dragonflight and just jump around. I would say that this is one of the better maps, but honestly, you could do any tier 1 you wanted with this character. Ruins would probably be the toughest one just because of the lightning immunity in there. This is probably one of the best tier 1 maps, no doubt. So if you want a nice, good tier 1 map, just stop LOD farming and you have a character you can farm, no problem. You're joking? Oh, I thought you were. Hey, I don't know who knows what, man. Man, calling me out. Okay. You can say that you beat the game when you hit 99. Is that so? I don't know. I think I'll always be, at least to some extent, a Diablo player for life. You know. Do you ever really beat this game, or does the game beat you? Or do you beat the game as it beats you? Is it mutual? Is the feeling mutual? I don't know. Well, Phoenix Strike is more versatile, so let's talk about that. So chat asked again, you know, I briefly touched on that when I was talking about the gear. Let's talk about Phoenix Strike versus Claws of Thunder. So watch the boss go down, by the way. This is a pretty dangerous boss to go in melee range of, but yeah, I got some DR. I'm good. And as you can see, she goes down fast. No problem. But anyway, so let's talk about Phoenix Strike versus Claws of Thunder. So Phoenix Strike has received several nerfs in the past couple seasons. It used to be, hands down, the best elemental martial build period since Season 2. I'm not so sure that's really the case anymore in Season 4, after a few nerfs and whatnot. But the damage is still really good on Phoenix Strike. It's not like it's bad. And Phoenix Strike has 3 elements, which means you never have to worry about immunities. You can do any map you want, anytime, anyhow. Phoenix Strike will do. I made a Phoenix Strike guide for Season 3, I believe, or Season 2. It's still on my YouTube. It's still relevant. But what I'm going to say about this build, the build I chose to get to 99 in Season 4 with, is that this build is a beast. This build's damage output, I would say, is actually quite significantly higher than Phoenix Strike, and other people that have built this build have told me the same thing. The damage output is just way higher. It's also cleaner in some cases, because it's just got it's got charged bolt novas, it's got nova. You can see from the charges it's got nova, and it's got a nova charged bolt. And the first hit is just pure lightning damage, which still has melee splash, granted to it by the Bartex itself. So, you can see though, this damage is no joke. Like, Phoenix Strike can't really get to this damage level, not really. And one of the main reasons that is even though you would still use a Bartex and all that, is because there's 3 elements. So you can focus on one element, which is or 2 elements, which is what most people have done in the past with Phoenix Strike. One element usually was fire. Usually fire was the best element because the fire damage from the meteor was the highest. But they've nerfed that damage quite a bit. They've nerfed the freeze effect as well. And they put more damage on a Phoenix Strike into the other elements, but they nerfed the fire element. So you would need all of the elements to make Phoenix Strike work. Now that's easy to do with some items like Kira's, you can get it done. 100%. You know, items like, you know, Ormus robes definitely can get that done, 100%. But it's easier just to stack one element, no matter what. It's always going to be easier to stack one element. The potential of Griffins is higher than Kira's for any of those one elements. And I'm using the same element every charge I use on Claws of Thunder. Every charge. And you can see just from the base damages that Phoenix Strike doesn't get this powerful on any of the charges. It doesn't get this much damage. And lightning's a good element because you can break lightning immunities with Conviction, Static Field, or a combination thereof. So it's very strong. So that's kind of my spiel on Phoenix Strike versus Spell Gear. As long as you have goals in the game never ends. That's right. Tooth row. Wow, that's a nice tooth row. Let's brick it. 1 socket. Okay, well, make a bad free list item maybe if somebody still wants those types of items. No problem. So yeah, anyway, I think you guys get the idea. This character can absolutely flatten these types of maps, no problem. It might not be necessarily the very fastest map flattener because there's more mobile builds, there's more, but it's very fast. It's not slow at all. It's very fast. You can kind of see the damage there. Let's go into some other maps though. Let's do some different ones so you guys can kind of see just how powerful she is. Let's go Tier 2 Area Battlefield. Some people claim this map is pretty hard. Depending on your build, this map's not going to be that bad. So as you can see, yeah, this build, no joke. Like I said, you can get more damage. Less survivability, more damage. Always possible, for sure. It's always a matter of min-maxing and, you know, balancing the stats that you want. More meth, more damage, whatever you want. So you might notice here, this is a lightning. I mean, we can't break with infinity, but I'm still killing it. Still killing it, and if I had an F claw, I'd kill it faster. Doesn't really have too many challenges. Yeah, Area Battlefield tends to be very strong for lightning characters, so we should probably mention, like, what are the better tier 2s for this character? Pledgeathon would be pretty good. Area Battlefield would be pretty good. Sewers are pretty good. Sewers do have lightning means you can't break those, so it might not be 100% optimal. You could even do Tomb of Zoltan Pool, that'd be fun. So in reality, you can do like any tier 2 you want. You know, like you can do any tier 1 you want. But I'd say Area Battlefield and Pledgeathon might be some of the stronger ones for this character. With Sewers being close behind. We'll show you with Sewers as well. Yeah. Despite the unbreakable light means, well, you know what's interesting is I believe you can break them with a combination of static field and infinity, so I think they are breakable. It just depends on. I don't remember if they're high enough though. Test everything. Let's remember. Okay, Hagen's Wisdom. So yeah, just having that 200 base MF mostly from our Skulders here gets us so far. We're not even wearing a Geed, so just imagine. So much more potential there. Yeah, 3-socketed K Hagen's easy. Fire resist once. Get all over it. Yeah, so easy stuff though. Yeah, lightning immune, if you can break it when you have this many facets or you have a lot of negative enemy light res, it doesn't matter too much. This build is just so much damage. Close quarters. Very cool build for sure. Hey, thank you, Masby. Thank you for everyone that congratulated me as well. Everyone did. Pretty big stuff. We'll be back tomorrow with Ubers, by the way. We're gonna be doing Uber bosses and whatnot. Yeah, you notice that if you just use your Dragonfly strategically, Dragonfly has a very low cooldown now, so no problem. Look at that. Yeah, so depending on how you build this character, she can be an absolute tank. She can destroy stuff. And that's how we got her to 99 without dying, you know? Not easy to do. If you're going to 99 in softcore or hardcore, I recommend building the build a lot tank. Especially on hardcore, because you don't get a second chance. We're actually only one of 4 assassins to get 99 on the entire server this season. Hardcore, so. tough. I did it on a melee sin. I'd say it'd be easier to do on a trap sin just because you can do dungeons with the range, but sometimes you just want to have fun. Builds. Okay. But as you can see, you could just absolutely just leap into everything, just brick these monsters hard. This is not a joke. You know, some people might think this build Claws of Thunder Sin. How good could that possibly be? Seen it here first, YouTube and chat. No joke. Yeah. Anyway, GG. Let's go show off another map now. That's a tier 2, so, you know, she's still flattening the maps, no problem. Now, as for tier 3s, I'd say her best tier 3s are probably Ancestral Trial and Blood Moon. But, you could do all kinds of tier 3s. Some of the tier 3s have some unbreakable light immunes. River of Blood would also be extremely solid on this character because you can break all the lightning immunes in there. So, River of Blood, Ancestral Trial, and Blood Moon are probably your top choices for a tier 3 on this character. The new ones, Canyon is really rough on lightning characters. Probably not going to want to solo that one. I was doing lots of those with the group, so as long as you have group support, you'll be fine. You're not going to want to solo that one. Kyrgyzstan is definitely soloable. I've done that several times. It's just the archer's going to be kind of nasty unless you have a combination of both static field and conviction. What do you need? It's going to be kind of nasty. So, also jumping into like 5 towers, maybe 9 towers might end you. So you might want to be careful with that. Unless you have like a Dwarf Star, you can definitely use more defensive rings, and there's definitely other. You can stack your fire res more. There's definitely more defensive options you can do for different situations. Just want to make that clear. There's so many options, of course, for every build, but what I'm showing, you know, take it. Let's do another. Let's just show off another tier 2 briefly here. Just to show you, this isn't a fluke. You know, it's not just like a couple of maps or whatever. So as you can see, sewers can be a little problematic because of these little things, but these things aren't even much of a problem, so you can even skip them. They're tiny, they don't do that much damage. We can just do sewers just fine. So I had like... Nice. You got a Vex Rune? Hell yeah, let's go. Yeah, I found one today too. Found a Bastion Keep actually, just messing around. Do I not even have my aura now? So as you can see, those plus skills matter quite a bit. Yeah, I like just leaping around. You could be more thorough, of course. Another way you can just play this build, by the way, is you can just run up to shit. You don't have to leap into monsters, so just keep that in mind. There is a bit more of a... you could just do this, too. You can just run up to stuff and just blast it. But you'll notice, though, that it tends to be a little slower to do it like this. Make sure to use your Dragonflight if possible. You definitely can get more DPS in by making use of Dragonflight here. Sometimes I'll do that though if I am wary about jumping into something. Even though I have Cloak of Shadows, sometimes there are some things you should be worried about jumping into, like fire towers and things of that nature. I just want to jump like that. Cool. Very, very nice. Hey, thank you, Holy Tribes. Thank you for all the, decided my next character. I'm gonna go Light Sword to do some further mapping. To help out some people. And also I'm gonna play my Zeal Barb, and we're gonna play Wolf Barb if we can do Rathma. So there you go. Yeah, this character's pretty much done for this season here. Done her job, man. Xana is victorious. That's okay. Good shit. Oh, I love Light Sword. On LOD, I think I like Light Sword even more, but or on G2R. Yeah, so we can still kill them. It's just Mercenary does way more physical damage than I do. So that's why if you reposition with Dragonflight on top of like the lightning immune, you can kill it faster. Okay. Alright, anyway. One thing to note though is that she does very well in these maps. Some of the bosses are a little tougher on this character, but most of the bosses are just fine. One boss in particular in like one of her best maps is kind of a problem actually. You might actually want to avoid farming the boss unless you have Insane Gear or Raven Frost on. I'd actually recommend Raven Frost. We're actually not going to touch the boss for this demo here, because I don't even have my Raven Frost, but you're going to want Cold Absorb and whatnot, because he is nasty in melee range, like really nasty. He can hit you with a super hard attack. He can destroy you with Blizzard, it's crazy stuff. But this map's amazing. This is a nice tier 3 map to demo here. No lightning immunes. Very nice stuff. Any tips for killing Andy on his summon necro? Teleport directly on top of him and walk back a few steps. Use your curses after you, or use your curses before you teleport on them. After you teleport on them, walk back a bit, let your minions destroy them. Level 15. So do you have? I guess Blood Warp isn't 15, is it? Well, you could always use the old Iron Maiden Golem trick. But you can also just kill him with summons if you just surround him. Just make sure to use Amp. Maximize her damage. Should be fun. If she keeps killing her summons, just keep use Desecrate. I think Desecrate's like a level 6 skill, right? Yeah. If I was a summon necro, I'd make sure to put 1 point into Desecrate early on. Just get that like ability to like resummon your shit. But yeah, as you can see though, Ancestral Trial is really good on this character. Pretty much one-shot everything in a tier 3 map. Pretty cool. Or almost one-shot at the very least. Pretty much all one-shot, two-shots in here. When we were doing like 300, 250 density maps in her, she was really crushing. Yeah. One thing to not fear is getting surrounded, because you have all these like Novas and the Nova bolts and whatnot. It does so much damage, you don't really have to worry about getting surrounded on this character at all. Just jump into whatever. Be sure to keep your stuff up, of course. But yeah, this is a tier 3. This one's really good for finding like runes and whatnot because of the Stormcasters and ghosts that often spawn in here. Tier 3 is always going to be a good time on this character. Once again, River of Blood is also good. And then finally, I'll show you guys Blood Moon for a bit. Do I have a decent weapon? See, I might have a decent weapon, I might not. I don't know. How about I find out if I have a decent weapon? How about that? Let's investigate this, shall we? After we're done with this, we could look at a few things here. You think Zeal Sword can kill D-Clone? Well, in D2R, yes, absolutely. Can it kill it in here? Probably not. The reason I say that is because you need to use Dreams. Yeah, see, that's the boss. I really don't recommend messing with him unless you had Cold Absorb or like Stack Cold Riz. That's higher than 75. His damage is insane. I could give you guys a taste of how much damage this fool does if you don't know. He is nutty. I recommend clearing out all the monsters even if you want to fight him on this character though. He's gonna destroy my Mercenary, he's gonna destroy me, he's gonna destroy my Shadow Master. He's gonna destroy everything. Look at that damage, holy crap. So as you can see, that is how much damage he does to me, and I'm like a fully built character. The only way to mitigate that is Ravenfrost, so you know, that's what I mean. That's a good demo there of why not to do that. Anyway, he's kind of rough. Despite that, the map itself is amazing to run, and you know, bosses typically don't drop the best stuff anyway, so not usually. And you know, if you wear like a Ravenfrost, if you just slap on one Ravenfrost, maybe two Ravenfrosts, honestly, you could fight him just fine. It's just Ravenfrost. All right, cool. You can do that. You just need that Cold Absorb. Cold Absorb would be just fun. But as you can see though, without Cold Absorb and just 75 Cold Res, it's not working. You need like 80 Cold Res or Cold Absorb something. I don't know. His damage is crazy. All right, and one last thing to check here. Yeah, that's pretty scary there for hardcore too. If you saw my health drop, yeah, this is be interesting to lose my 99 cent just demoing that right there. That'd be kind of cool. I don't really want to though. I think I killed him once with this character. I was being very careful, trying to get the Blizzard off, and Blizzard just damages. And then of course, this is everyone's favorite map, the currency generating map. PD2. Blood Moon. So, as you can see, she just rips and tears in here. No problem. So hopefully you guys are inspired to make this awesome character. I had a lot of fun with it. Honestly, when I played it in the beta again, I was like, damn, you know what? I really need to make this. When I found this GC, the 34 life one, 34 life Marshall GC, and day one, I was like, okay, I got it. It's a great starting point. When I started running this character and getting her to 99, I only had like a couple of lifers. Eventually built out everything as we kept pushing her. Didn't always have this much health. At one point she actually had below 2,000 health, so before we even had an Annie or anything. Definitely overkill on some of these stats for sure, but you know, being 99 is no joke. Rolled a 30 experience, 262 density Resiars earlier. I slammed 140. Hell yeah, nice. Congrats, man. Get to that 93, man. So yeah, right there, for instance, if you see something you think is kind of dangerous, you like slow the roll. This Cloak of Shadows, whatever. There are definitely builds that can flatten cows faster than this. Bigger AoE builds and whatnot. But I gotta say, this is a lot of fun. And she just flattens it fast. She'll deal with maximum life too. Obviously, you know, it might take, you know, one more hit or something to flatten it. No problemo. Dangerous ranged enemies like archers and River of Blood definitely want to use that Cloak of Shadows a bit more often. The only bad thing is sometimes when you jump into the monsters, you kind of get block locked a bit. You're not actually hitting them. So nice to. That's one advantage of Cloak of Shadows actually, is you can prevent them from even hitting you. You just jump in there and then you die. You don't have to worry about getting blocked, stuck in faster block recovery. Or hit recovery for that matter. Hit recovery is not as often on this character, but it happens. Alright. Man. Well, yeah, man. Too beautiful. Excellent. Excellent! So does anyone in the chat have any questions about this build? Anyway, do we have any, anyone wants to know anything else? Did I pretty much go over everything? I know we had someone ask a question earlier about Phoenix Strike and the comparison between the builds. It's a good question. Tier-wise, I would tier this build higher than Phoenix Strike this season, just because it's just more damage. Smoother damage. Clear speed's really good. I would. You know, that's what I did in my tier list, it shows. Cool. Yeah, for sure. I have a question. What's going to be your second 99 this season? Nothing! By then, PTR 2.4 will certainly be out. D2R is right on the horizon again. Sorry if you prefer PD2 over D2R, because the D2R is coming back. If you do prefer D2R, you're hyped up for the ladder and whatnot, that's going to be good news for you. At least for my stream. Definitely going to be doing a lot more D2R content coming up, and eventually we're just going to ban in Season 4, as we do at all points. At some point, you know, it's just died down too much. If people want to continue playing it, they definitely can. Gotta move on to other things, man. That's how it goes. Oh yeah. So D2R is coming back on my stream very shortly, I would say. Not gonna take long. If Blizzard doesn't drag their feet too much, you know, on this stuff, it's gonna be back sooner than you think. We're still making guides. I'm actually making a Jab Fend Amazon guide for D2R behind the scenes. Is there any news on the ladder? Well, no news on the ladder date, no. But we know about the PTR at least. See, they keep us in the dark, man. Like, they literally announced today, hey, tomorrow there's PTR for testing the server changes. It's like, okay. They keep us in the dark, man. They really do. Oh, that could have been a Crown of Ages. It's pretty nice, though. I wonder if this item would be good for Rathma, actually. It's got cold absorb, it's got res. Alright. As you guys can see, though, this character's got excellent clear speed. She tears through it all, man. She is a very fun build. This was a very fun build, man. We'll have to do something different, of course, in Season 5, but I never got tired of playing this build. That's why I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna get a build to 99, this would be really fun. See, having that shadow up really helps, you know, keep the damage off of you, and to keep you, you know, using up their charges and blowing them up. So yeah, all good stuff. If we don't have any more questions about this build, YouTube chat and everyone, we'll have timestamps, of course, for this guide in the description and in the first pinned comment below. Like and subscribe on the YouTube, of course, if you enjoyed this guide video. And of course, remember that you can check out all my other PD2 guides on YouTube, my D2R guides also on YouTube, and on Maxroll, d2.maxroll.gg. You can check this one out and more. This is their first Claws of Thunder Sin guide for sure. Not even a guide update or anything. This is just the first one. She's a beast. She's a killer. Have fun playing her, man. I will keep killing it, man. Season 4 PD2, hardcore and softcore. And with that, Dark Humility, over and out. See you guys next time. Twitch.tv/Dark Humility for live action all the time. Peace. Kill it.